Okay, we're on Sheviit, Perek Daled Mishnah Zayin. Perek Daled Mishnah Zayin. Now the Mishnah turned to an entirely different topic. Until now we've been talking about treating my field and cutting down trees and things of that nature. But now the Mishnah changes topics, and turns to the subject of Kedushat Sheviit, of eating fruit on Kedushat Sheviit. So in order to understand this, we have to look back to the psukim that we started with in Vayikra, Perek Kafhei, regarding Shemitah. Okay, so one of the things we say, okay, the rules we've learned that you can't plant and you can't prune, etc., etc. But then the Torah says the following: V'haita Shabbat haaretz lachem leochla. I'm going to highlight those words. It should be a Shabbat haaretz for you to eat, lachem leochla, lecha u'le'abdecha v'le'amatecha. So it should be for you to eat, for you, your servant, your maidservant, your slave. And for the sachir and the toshav, the renters and the residents that live with you. I'm going to highlight this again. It should be le'echol. And so Chazal, interestingly enough, made a rule, they made a gzeira, that the food, there's something called hefsed peirot. You're not allowed to take Kedushat Sheviit and destroy it. It has to be used in the normal way that it's used, and that's normally called derech achila. So therefore, if I have fruit, I have to eat them in the normal way. If I have produce, I have to eat it in the normal way. I can't waste it. And that's a rule of Sheviit. The Rambam writes, let me see if I can find it. Here we are. And we're going to see this in Mishnah Yud. Mutar lakutzi lanu le'etzim b'shvit kodem sheyeh pri. I can cut trees before there's fruit. Once branches start to grow fruits, then I can't cut out the branches. Why? Shari mafsid ha'ochel. I'm causing the loss of the food. Hefsed ochel. And it says, Vaita Shabbat ha'aretz lachem le'ochla. That's what we just saw. It should be the Shabbat ha'aretz, the resting of the land, for you to eat. Lochla, lo lehefsed. And not the hefsed for loss. Okay? And that's exactly what we talked about until now. So now, therefore the Mishnah said, I'm going the wrong place, I apologize. Therefore, our Mishnah says, is going to talk about, there's a certain part at which, so now, based on our Mishnah, we're going to see that Chazal made a gzeira and said that you can't eat fruit before it's ripe. And I'm going to explain to you, I have the Safrai's explanation. It's a very interesting idea about why that is. But part of not wasting fruit is not eating it before it's ripe. There's a certain point before which you're not allowed to eat it, and it depends on what stage. So as we're going to see in the Mishnah, I'm going to conclude my introduction, that there are two stages to eat it. One is when they're in the field. The workers in the field were more comfortable eating much earlier, whereas the later time is when it's normally eaten, as we'll soon see. Says the Mishnah, when are you allowed to eat the fruits of the tree on Sheviit, meaning before which you're not allowed to eat it, as we said, because it would be hefsed ochalin. Hapagim mishiyazrichu. Pagim we're talking about figs, soft figs. Okay, so these are when figs grow. As I'll show you in a minute. Okay, mishiyazrichu. Mishiyazrichu means when they become a little bit red. Let's look at the Bartanura. Okay, when are you allowed to eat peirotelim? Mishum dedashtinan leochla v'lo lehefsed. Because Chazal learned out leochla v'lo lehefsed. V'im ochlam kodem mishulam hainu hefsed. If you eat them before they're ripe, you're not eating them in the normal way. So baby figs, mi shehizrichu, mi shehedimu. Ze'at chalat bishulam. So when they become red. Okay? Bichalu. Once they're gadal harbe, totally ripened, kones l'toch beito. Then you're allowed to bring them into your house. So therefore, the two stages are pagim, very young figs, early figs, then mishi yazrichu. They have to turn at least red, otherwise. And then you eat them bepito besadeh, then the workers would take them and use them with their bread sandwiches in the field. But bichalu, then once they're more ripened, once they're really ripened, kones l'toch beito, you can bring it into the house. V'chein kayotzei be'em b'shar shanei hashavua, chayav b'ma'asor. The same rule appears vis-a-vis ma'asor. Remember we talked about when are they chayav b'ma'asor? When the time would be that a person would eat them normally. So there's a number of ways of understanding that, but we're going to understand that bichalu, when it becomes ripe, that's when they become chayav b'ma'asor for that year. I.e., if they grew mostly and became green in Elul, but they only became ripe in Tishrei, then the second year, the year after, would be kovea for ma'asor. Where the figs, Here, I can see here, I have some pictures, some Google pictures of figs. So you can see, interestingly, when the fig grows on the tree, it stands up. But as time goes along, it ripens, it falls a little bit down. Then it becomes somewhat red. And as time goes along, it can become actually much, much redder. It's actually possible for it to become, some figs only become ripened once they're off the tree. When they're off the tree, then they ripen, then they're dried and ripen. So you can see that they become a little bit red on the inside. And you can, I don't know, maybe this, I think this might be a fig. Here we go. Unripe, early ripe, becomes a little bit red. Ripe is when it's already much, much riper. Of course, it obviously depends upon the kind of fig that we're talking about. What I wanted to mention in the Safra, he says something very interesting. He suggests that the reason for this halacha, the gzeira that Chazal made. So it's a question, if you say it's a din d'oraita of lachem le'ochla, as we saw, lachem le'ochla v'lo lehefseid, then it's a din d'oraita, then it's a drasha of Chazal. But if you suggest that Chazal made the gzeira based on the psukim and it's an asmachta, why would Chazal make a rule saying you can't eat it too early? So he says something fascinating. He says it's obvious that during the time of Sheviit, everyone was hungry because people weren't planting, and so there was like a race to eat. So on the one hand, Chazal had to prevent people from eating too early because that would be a waste of food. At the same time, you had like rich and poor, because if I have an orchard of fig trees, I got all these figs and I can't eat them. I can't harvest them. How much can I eat? So what do I care? I'm not going to waste them. I waste them. I don't waste them. I play baseball with them. Therefore, Chazal had to say, you don't have the right to waste Sheviit because other people need to eat it. So he sees this very much as a social engineering. This is Reb Safrai's book. Very much he talks about the idea of social engineering, that Chazal had to balance the needs of the community versus the desires of a person, or the lack of care on the part of the owner on the one hand, as well as the need to push people because they would run to get the fruits as quickly as possible, to make them wait at least until the beginning of the ripening so that the fruits wouldn't go to waste. We will stop here. If you have any comments or questions, as always, please feel free to contact me at rspolter@gmail.com. I will dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.